In 2 seconds, Su Ming and Zhu Chengsheng looked at themselves again. He continued quite seriously and determinedly. "My supervisor, it seems like there is some illness affecting me, because I was on the phone. He often suddenly sneezes. The sound is not particularly loud. It feels a bit like forcing myself to hold back. And there's also the sound of sniffing. I can't remember very clearly either. Anyway, there will definitely be sneezing." The detail narrated by the beast dog. Su Ming curiously picked up a piece of media, continued to follow the clues, and ask, "When I called you 3 times, is everyone experiencing sneezing? Just once or twice occasionally?" The beast dog rolled its eyes. "Take 2 seconds to think seriously." "Then," I answered vaguely, unable to remember clearly. "Isn't it too clear? It feels like the first time I made a phone call. There is no situation of sneezing. Then the second time it seemed there was. But for the last time, about 15 days ago, definitely has sneezing. She sneezed several times." Upon hearing this answer, Su Ming gently nodded. He then turned to Zhu Chengsheng beside him. "Shenji, I will make a bold guess. This concealed criminal suspect. It's likely a cherry blossom pollen allergy, caused nasal inflammation, because in the impression of the beast dogs, the first time we contacted each other, he didn't make a phone call. It seems like there was a hit the second time. The third time, I definitely held back a sneeze. If it's just a cold, I don't think it can last this long. Moreover, a cold is a minor illness that can be resolved quickly, will not become a clue. Instead, it could turn into false information that confuses our police. There's no need to hold back a sneeze. Don't want to attract the beast dog's attention. As for serious illnesses like tuberculosis or lung cancer, then it's even more impossible. After all, that extremely strict drug trafficking organization, can't we find a patient to control? The drug market is so immense. And if we infer based on time, that person first contacted the beast dog. It should be February. At that time, the weather was still quite cold. The powder from various flowers and plants has not yet begun to disperse. So it didn't trigger his pollen allergy. Waiting for the second contact with the beast dog. It was already March. Spring has arrived. Various pollen has spread through the air, but it's not particularly much yet. So it should still be bearable, coughing once or twice from time to time. Nor will it be deliberately provoked by the beast dog. 15 days ago, the pollen in the air has reached its peak. The suspect simply couldn't bear it any longer. But I'm afraid sneezing will reveal my identity. I can only force myself to hold it in. After all, the pollen in the air won't end until May. In his blue and gold game, Jiang Wan and Huang Yan probably won't live this long. So it needs to be hidden as much as possible. Avoid being discovered by us. Although there are still many clues missing now. But I can roughly outline a portrait of such a criminal suspect. At this moment, Su Ming rested one hand on his chin, wiping away the spilled drink. The other hand lightly tapped on the table. "Organized my thoughts," he continued quite seriously, led by the interrogation clues of the beast dog, able to determine the true mastermind behind it all, cautious and meticulous, due to the use of a voice changer. Gender cannot be determined at this time. The identity is temporarily categorized as staff members at Shude Middle School, and at least unilaterally understand the profiles of Huang Yan and Jiang Wan. Shuai has a separate office, but it can't be 100% certain. Grew up in the poison of magic from a young age. Very likely witnessed the rise and fall of the Shengtian textile factory. Here, I'll add some personal insights. In my past experiences, when drug dealers choose a transaction location, people usually choose places they are familiar with, rather than a completely unfamiliar place. But due to the long decline of Qingtian village, so the parents of the suspect, it is very likely that they once worked at the Shengtian textile factory. This is why the suspect is so familiar with Shenzhen village. At the same time, the suspect may have pollen allergy. Uncontrollable sneezing and coughing may occur. The last point. I come from Huangyin and Jiangwan. In the Blue Bold game played, identify this criminal suspect. It is very likely to have a certain level of psychological counseling or the foundation of a psychiatrist, because in the last email Huang Yan communicated with the suspect, he deliberately mentioned the mental hospital, although it could be false information, but it can be temporarily put in for screening, and also the progress of crime controlled by consciousness. It's evident that the suspect has this kind of ability, but it also doesn't rule out the possibility of self-study later on, just for the crime to occur. Su Ming temporarily paused his words. Looking at Zhu Changsheng, he suggested, Shinji, I think we can follow this clue first. Screening was conducted at Shud Middle School, because no matter where the suspect is, only Dan Dan knows about Huan Yan and Zhang Wan. This clue regarding the general situation is enough to make us. First, we started screening within Shud Middle School, and I believe, whether we find the murderer or not, through the internal screening of Shud Middle School, it will only bring us one step closer to the truth. Many murder cases, actually, it's very difficult to achieve, directly lock onto the suspect. Because of the murderer, now everyone consciously avoids the surveillance eyes. Basically, all through the corpse of the deceased, crime scene, interrogation of relevant personnel, etc. Extract useful clues. Then narrow down a range for screening. After identifying the suspects with potential criminal involvement, further detailed comparison and interrogation to determine the final murderer. This unconventional method of elimination, currently in criminal investigation, used quite frequently. At this moment, listening to the analysis of fate and the characteristics of the selected murderer, Zhu Changsheng nodded in agreement. We really can't waste any more time, although now still haven't found any decisive clues. However, the numerous fragmented speculations, it can indeed support the initial screening. As soon as possible, the Shud middle schools, the suspicion against the school staff has been cleared, or determine possible suspects. All of this is beneficial for the development of subsequent work. Okay, I'll attend the tech class later. Check the staff of Shud Middle School carefully. We must identify the possible suspects. At this point, Zhu Changshen looked at the beast dog across from him. Gently tapping the table, I asked softly, Beast dog, although you explained quite a bit, but I suddenly thought of a question. Earlier you said this criminal organization occupied the Dragon Kingdom, at least 50% of the drug trade, but you haven't even seen the online version. How did you come to this conclusion? Moreover, such a large drug trafficking organization, I can't believe it could be kept a secret for so long. This is truly strange. The beast dog sitting in the interrogation chair, her eyes revealed a hint of fear, said with great certainty, Police officer, 50% is my guess, but I think, if you dig deeper, the specific share and trading chain identified, it might be even more astonishing than what I said. As for what you want to ask me, where did you find out? Then I can only say, although I can't compare to your police force, But we these toxic dog ruffians, he also has his own information channels. Back when I was targeted, I also thought about escaping to get away from them. But the primary task is to assess their organization. How big is it, really? So the next day, immediately seek various connections. I asked those toxic dog friends from the nearby cities, is there a way? Bought a small white one with purity above 95. Result: half of my friends replied to me saying, there is. Except for that organization, I think there should be no one here. Will you really spend on such pure little buy? As for why they could keep it a secret for so long, perhaps it is because no one dares to take responsibility, or perhaps they are still waiting for an explanation. The person has already been dealt with in advance. Zhu Changsheng nodded thoughtfully, quickly tidied up the interrogation materials, slowly stood up and said, "Okay, let's conclude the review here. During this time, stay at the police station for now, beast dog. You don't need to return to the detention center for now. If there's anything else later, we will come to find you as soon as possible." Immediately after, Zhu Changsheng then stood up. Su Ming is also standing. Prepare to conclude the interrogation and begin the next course of action. As the two opened the door, as I was about to leave the interrogation room, the beast dogs suddenly remembered something, quickly turned their head. Look at Zhu Changsheng, pulling hard on the interrogation line. My daughter, my daughter. Those people will definitely. Before the hound could finish speaking, Zhu Changsheng then turned his head, interrupted his subsequent words without hesitation, spoke quite seriously. Don't worry, since we are aware of this situation. Naturally, it will ensure the maximum guarantee, the safety of your family. I'll send a few plainclothes officers over shortly, hiding nearby, lying in wait. Potential suspects. You don't need to worry about such things. All you need to do now is keep thinking it over carefully. Are there any other key clues and questions? After speaking, Zhu Changsheng then closed the interrogation room door, Su Ming walking beside. Think carefully for a few seconds. He looked at Zhu Changsheng beside him and asked, Chenji, I want to investigate across the city regarding the file of the Iron 3 case. I hope to find some useful clues. Since the perpetrator of this fall case, the person threatened by the beast dog, from the same organization, maybe the two of them. What commonalities will exist? Even if there isn't, at least we can give it a try. Such a big crime. The organization dug out a little. Regarding Su Ming's suggestion, Zhu Changsheng naturally would not oppose. After all, some time ago, Su Ming, however, came from the files of 20 years ago, found a very useful clue. He then waved his hand to indicate he was done speaking. Okay, no problem. But now there's no time to waste. Just don't leave. Transfer the case files normally across cities and provinces. Such cumbersome procedures. You go directly to the neighbor's office. Let him help fight for it. The privilege of calling first and compensating later. Just discovered. Let's talk about this large drug trafficking organization. The things uncovered in this case. It really gives me goosebumps. After speaking, Zhu Changsheng walking towards the Criminal Investigation Technology Division, to utilize the police, the citizen database established over the years. Screening locked at Swade Middle School. Possible criminal suspects. Su Ming stood in front of the director's office door. Knock, knock, knock. Gently knocked a few times. Come in, the door is unlocked. Lin Tian's slightly hoarse voice sounded. Su Ming immediately twisted the doorknob, pushed open the door and walked into the director's office. As soon as I entered, the strong smell of smoke filled the air. The entire office, it was shrouded in a thin veil of mist. Looking towards the desk, Lin Tian discovered that his elbow was resting on the table again. The forearm is raised, between the index and middle fingers, with a nearly burnt-out cigarette still pinched between his fingers. Just looking at the half-burned cigarette that hasn't broken yet, Lin Tian estimated it would be several minutes. I haven't taken a puff. The ashtray next to it, holding at least 2 cigarette butts. But the vast majority of cigarette butts, none of them have turned yellow from smoking. It's quite obvious. Lin Tian is simply ignited. Pinched. Su Ming stepped forward slowly, discovered under Lin Tian's left palm the case file of the 5.13 motorcycle university dismemberment case. It must be Zhu Changsheng's earlier statement. Take this dossier yourself. It took nearly 20 years to infer. Undiscovered clues. This is what makes Lin Tian so concerned. I hope to continue moving forward. Identify the culprit behind this major case. As Su Ming approached, Lin Tian also extinguished the cigarette butt in his hand. Bring the case file of the May 13 dismemberment case. Push it aside. Looking at Su Ming in front of me, she revealed a faint smile and said, "What happened?" Xiao Ming. "Is it about that fall case? Is there a problem? Please say it." "What happened?" Su Mingly. Just as I was about to speak, ding-ling-ling, the phone on the desk rang. Lin Tian glanced at the caller ID. Then he raised his palm to signal Su Ming to wait a moment. He answered the phone with a hint of impatience. "Hello. Principal, the case is still in process. You called again to administer the medicine." A slight pause for a few seconds. It seems to wait until the other person's words are finished. Lin Tiankai continued to respond. "Don't worry. Principal, we may provide a result as soon as possible. Of course, I understand the difficulties your school is facing. Juvenile cases. The pressure from media and netizens is definitely significant. But there's no way. Our police, you can't just deal with those people. Just make up any excuse, right? No matter how significant the case's impact is. In the end, we need to get to the bottom of things, right? All right. Let's start like this. Don't keep calling anymore. The case has made specific progress. I will contact you again. Easily deal with the principal of Shude Middle School." Lin Tian hung up the phone without hesitation. Throw the phone casually onto the table. Looking at Su Ming, he raised his head in a gesture. "Xiao Ming, are there any other issues with this case? If it were just a simple case of suicide by falling, I'm afraid it won't take as long for Xiao Zhu and you." Su Ming nodded gently. Po broke the silence solemnly. "Lin Chu, the involvement in this fall case is significant. She is not just an ordinary middle school girl. Depression and suicide. But someone is using a suicide game to guide the 2 victims, causing them to have thoughts of suicide in a short period of time, and put it into action. But this is only what appears on the surface. The most astonishing thing is, by interrogating one of the victims, we dug up a drug dealer who couldn't be caught a few days ago, related to this case. After a thorough interrogation, an astonishing news has been uncovered. There is a large criminal organization controlling the drugs in our Dragon Kingdom's Wu City. Selling network, the true culprit of this fall from the building case. He is one of the members of this large criminal organization." This statement, suddenly, Lin Tian's pupils constricted sharply, but quickly regained composure. He knocked on the table and said seriously, "Xiao Ming, the background of this case. Tell me in detail. The drug trafficking network in Wucheng. This case is too big. We must hurry. We must uncover the truth. For Lin Tian's astonishment, Su Ming did not feel any surprise, or say, any public servant within the organizational framework of the Longyou Public Security. I can't believe there is such a large drug trafficking operation. The organization has been hidden for many years without being discovered. You will definitely feel a tingling sensation on your scalp. He subconsciously thought this was impossible, because the anti-drug efforts in Longyou are well known worldwide. I never would have thought. How can such a large organization exist? Without any hesitation, Su Ming immediately began recounting the details of the fall case. And the derived case within a case. 5 full minutes passed. Su Ming finally revealed the details. And the various details and processes inferred explained clearly to Lin Tian. At this moment, after listening to Su Ming's words, Lin Tian took a cigarette from the box on the table. Pinch it between your fingers and light it. But it did not take a single breath. Let it slowly burn at my fingertips. Silence lasted for several dozen seconds. The drifting smoke conceals one's own face. Lin Tiankai hides a shock. He spoke in a rather hoarse voice. So, Xiao Ming, this initially seemingly simple case of a middle school girl falling from a building. In fact, the complexity is far beyond imagination. Not only is there consciousness, mastering this special method of crime, the most crucial thing is that has been hidden for an unknown duration. Until now, we've only managed to uncover a small clue by sheer luck. A person with a firearm can smuggle high-purity drugs. A massive drug trafficking organization that dares to threaten with murder. He let out a heavy sigh. Lin Tian blew away the smoke in front of him, with an incredibly determined gaze. Clenching his left fist, he said coldly, although currently, the difficulty of solving this fall case has increased several times. But fortunately, unexpected discovery. Our dragon country. It turned out to hide such a large drug trafficking organization. If they hide for a few more years, it might cause further issues. What kind of terrifying harm? Just by uncovering this organization. I can only give it to you and Xiao Zhu. All remember the last great achievement. Speaking of which, Lin Tian paused for 2 seconds. Looking at Su Ming in front of me, he asked with a serious tone, Xiao Ming, this case, it was mostly handled by you, since Xiao Zhu was able to send you to find me. It also shows his trust in you. Now you can speak boldly. Regarding the current deadlocked case, what are your views and approaches? Do you need any special assistance? It's obvious. Current Lin Tianlu, I have high hopes for Su Ming. After all, whether it's this case, still the same as before. From 20 years ago, the case files. Find clues about the 5.13 murder case. All of this proves Su Ming's abilities. And in that exam, the never-before-seen perfect exam paper. It's not just a random guess, it's a well-thought-out plan, due to the urgency of the case. Su Ming was certainly not polite. Expressing my current thoughts. Advanced escape path. Neighboring bureau. First, we need to get that. The large drug trafficking organization was set aside. First, handle this falling case. Is the most correct choice. Because over the years, at least eat peanuts from the iron triangle. Until now, it has been 3 years. Police forces from all over the country. No one has reported any news about this organization. This is enough to explain the secrecy of this organization and unprecedented rigor. Currently, there are no clues at all. I don't even know where to find the clues. to start the investigation from here. The difficulty is truly unprecedented. The best way, obviously, it is. First, identify the murderer of the falling incident. Through this killer, uncover this massive drug trafficking organization. Although we are currently clues of the falling case, it is also very chaotic. But at least there is a place. Can be purchased. At the same time, due to the perpetrator of the falling incident, the mastermind behind the Suju Iron Triangle case, belong to the same organization. I hope. Can you give me inter-provincial and inter-city permission to access the case files? If we could learn from these two cases, unearth the related clues to uncover the mastermind behind the murders, it must be very helpful. Su Mingli sorted out Lai's thoughts. Sure, for now. After obtaining the authorization to access the case files. Then continue to. There's nothing else left. Neighbor. For now, let's temporarily retrieve it from another province. The authority of cross-city case files. Lin Tian extinguished the nearly burned-out cigarette. Without hesitation, he said with sweaty palms, I am now. Just give us a call. The interrogation of the Shanghai police. Immediately at the first moment, arrange your privileged internal account. Can take you across provinces. Review all the case files. At the same time, I also want to report this. That massive drug trafficking organization matters. Then let's do it this way. Xiao Ming, you go ahead and get busy. I'll send you the special account shortly. We must quickly find the murderer. After speaking, Lin Tian picked up the phone on the table, just about to dial, when I just mentioned the listening phone call. Suddenly paused. Suddenly looked up at Su Ming. Squinting his eyes, he received some guidance. Xiao Ming, can you check that for me later? Principal of Shud Middle School, Wenbao, especially his relatives. Friend, is there anything? The possibility or opportunity to commit a crime with his assistance. Just a short 3 to 4 hours. He made several phone calls, urging me to uncover the truth. In my heart, there must definitely be ghosts. The true murderer. It might not be like this. But if you are eager to know, is there an accomplice that I have revealed? Then maybe it is possible. Walking out of Lin Tian's office, Su Ming let out a deep breath, a mouthful of foul breath. Take out the phone from the pocket. Sent a message to Zhu Chengsheng. Let Zhu Chengsheng look into Quenbao more. Take a look at what he has behind him. Is there any dirty place? As Lin Tian said, even with the pressure from the media, as the principal of Shud High School, you shouldn't be in such a hurry. And after being a principal for so many years, it can't be. Can't even express some scenes. Even simply dealing with the media is beyond their capabilities. Making so many calls, urging the police to reveal the truth. And it always feels like there's a hidden meaning, present the result of the suicide. Actually, from Su Ming's perspective, the entire incident of the fall from the building, you can generally see the behind-the-scenes killer is very cautious and careful. So, it shouldn't happen like that. So tense that I can't hold it in any longer. Constantly calling to inquire about the situation. But from a perspective, Quenbao is clearly something feels off, even if not the mastermind behind the case. High probability. It is also related to this case. Or what is there? Shameful things. Back to the meeting room for handling cases. Su Ming walked slowly on and post various photos or write important case information clues. In front of the whiteboard, pick up a postal pen. On the whiteboard, I wrote 2 characters seriously. Motivation. Correct. It's the motivation. This is the operation codenamed Blue Gold Game. Middle school plummeting incident. So far, still haven't found one. Obvious motive. Because from that bright night the murderer emerged. Specially provide purity, such a high level of drugs, and waste a lot of time. Email communication. Forcefully control Zhang Wen for a moment. Ian Huiyan. This is absolutely impossible. Committed random crimes without any objective. At the same time, also because of the remaining students in the whole school, I haven't received anything. Application for the Blue Gold Game. The killer has been precisely identified. Due to various unexpected situations and family factors, Huing Yan, who has a rather fragile and complex inner world. He and Zhang Wan were together, so it can be proven. Yue Yan and Zhang Wan, absolutely the murderer. Carefully selected prey, and there are places to find out the recent situation of the two. But the problem still exists. What is the motivation? Why did the murderer to murder Huang Yan and Zhang Wan? Moreover, according to the information obtained from the beast dog, the killer is highly likely to be. It was 2 months ago. It was just absorbed into that. In a giant drug trafficking organization. Once upon a time, I could offer a few times, based on the dosage for the beast dogs. Most likely still haven't obtained it. That drug trafficking organization had complete trust. Still haven't found their footing. Just tried to kill. What is this for? Really not worried. It was not easy to join that organization. The result didn't take long, but was captured by the police. Are you saying that? Yue Yan and Zhang Wan. Accidental discovery or heard it. This killer. Direct evidence of involvement in drug trafficking. So, Kai Rang is the biggest drug lord of this magic poison. I have to choose adventure. Get rid of the two of them. Thought seriously for a few minutes. Song Ming couldn't help but feel a bit of a headache. He pinched his brow. Still haven't come up with one. A suitable conclusion. After all, the greatest drug lord of the dark poison, with two underage middle school students. This is really difficult. Related. At the same time, there are critical clues missing. Can only hope for. The case from Seju City's Iron 3. Through the killer. Characteristics of the same drug trafficking organization. Find some useful clues. Just then, Song Ming's phone placed on the table. The notification sound for new information rang out. Open it and take a look. It turns out to be Lin Tian. The privileged account has been sent. And not just. Can I check the files from Gusu City? Even the whole country. Files from other provinces and cities. All can be retrieved for viewing. It's obvious. The higher-up leaders. For this enormous excavation. Drug trafficking organization. It is also an unprecedented level of attention. Without any hesitation, Song Ming immediately landed. Police internal platform. Captured the Iron 3. The relevant case files have been retrieved. The number of pages in this file is not many. It wasn't as Song Ming had imagined. Captured completely. 10 kilograms of high-purity heroin. There should be many poisonous dogs dug up. It seems that the bones of Iron 3 are tough enough, even if it means picking peanuts. He just didn't explain everything clearly, even their own customers. No one has explained the situation. It's better than beast dogs. Be much tougher. According to the case file, Tai-san is in a trade, directly caught red-handed by the Seju police. There wasn't even a chance to escape. At the police at Tai-san's residence, 10 kilograms were found during the search. High-purity Zio by stored in a wine jar. This is the first time in the history of the Suzhou police. Single search conducted. Seized the highest purity heroin. Upon seeing this line recorded in the case file, Su Ming raised an eyebrow thoughtfully. Then she softly murmured to herself, "Single time, nosed, high-purity heroin. Does that mean before Tai-san was caught? Actually, it has already been searched. High-purity drugs have passed. Or rather, Tai-san is not part of this drug trafficking organization. The first lackey found in Suzhou, after all, in the description of the beast dog, that organization's member, the first time giving the quantity for the triathlon. It weighs a full 10 kilograms. Thinking of this, Su Ming immediately began searching. It goes back a full 4 years. It was just 1 year before the Iron Triangle case occurred. It happened in May of that year. Gusu police, for the first time from a certain poison dog's hand, discovered 5 grams of pure substance, high-purity heroin, in the following 2 months. Occasionally, a small amount can be collected. High-purity drugs, but no one noticed. Find the source of supply. Immediately after that, by the 3rd month, Gusu police, suddenly from a wooden boat by the lake, discovered 500 grams of high-purity heroin, due to the significant amount of drugs. Immediately attracted the attention of the Suzhou police. Begin using various methods. Conduct a thorough investigation. Finally, in the 8th month, selling in Suzhou. Suspect of high-purity drugs captured. But this person is not the source at all. He is definitely not a member of the drug trafficking organization. Because Su Ming looked at this drug dealer in Yan Huan's case file. It was discovered that he had a drug addiction history spanning 5 years. From what Tai-san and Shu Gu said, that organization absolutely does not recruit drug users. The selection process is extremely strict. So, it was precisely because the first girlfriend died. That's why they later found the iron 3. And it was given for the first time, 10 kilograms of high-purity heroin. Thinking of this, Su Ming suddenly frowned. Strange. But in the 3rd month, the high-purity drugs in Gusu City have increased. This is the organization member in charge of Gusu City, gained the trust of other drug dealers through the probation period. Still say, completed a special assessment. The member of the organization that uses magic poison. The current consciousness is still in the trial period. Failed to complete the assessment. Su Ming was immediately filled with doubt. She began to flip through continuously all the files from Suzhou City during that time. Based on past experiences, if the suspect is not captured in time, it is very likely that they will commit crimes again in the near future, or perhaps wait quietly until the sound of the wind passes, return to the scene of the crime. Carefully browsing through the files of Gusu City, I hope to find out what is the reason the members of the organization in Suzhou City increased the supply of drugs. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, several minutes passed. Su Ming was about to give up on this line. A murder case that occurred in Suzhou City 3.5 years ago suddenly came into view. The title of this murder case is Private Cinema Love Talk, a Fake Murder Case. The most critical thing is there is a very conspicuous mark under this case. Unresolved case. I see these 3 words. Su Ming immediately squinted his eyes. Clicked on the case without hesitation. It looks like, because normal criminal cases, there is generally a certain time frame for case closure, approximately 3 to 6 months. Remaining unresolved. Just explain. not processed yet or cannot be processed. This is something that is absolutely not allowed in the police station. Of course, there is also a special exception. That is, murder case. If there is a murder case together, always in an unresolved state, this undoubtedly indicates that the murderer has never been found. There's no way at all. Forced closure, but over the years, due to various advanced criminal investigation techniques and the emergence of the surveillance eye, unsolved cases are already quite rare. If averaged out, one is that we might not have been together for several years. So, this is the murderer was never found. Private Cinemalove confession fake murder case undoubtedly makes Sue Ming. Some became curious and surprised. Just as I was about to check the case files, Sue Ming suddenly paused. Uncontrollably, memories flooded my mind. The words once spoken by the beast dog. That person did not answer Tai Sanji. Just simply squat down. From the pocket of the sleeve, he took out a small syringe, directly inserted into Iron Three's mother's arm. Gently and tenderly like this. Inject the liquid inside. There are less than 3 minutes. Tai Sanji witnessed it with his own eyes. His mother stopped breathing. I thought of what the beast dog said, looking again at this case in Gusu. Unsolved murder case to this day. Sweet words are false. Su Ming can now roughly determine. The member of the Gusu clan's drug trafficking organization. It's highly likely it's for Tai San's mother, injected with sweet nothings. To achieve this in just 3 minutes, just paused breathing. Moreover, the deceased recorded in this case file, definitely not the mother of Tai San. The crime scenes are also quite distant from each other. However, the method of committing the crime, it is almost identical. They all used sweet talk like this. Highly toxic substances, in a very short time, just poisoned the victim. But the problem is, a member of the Gusu clan's drug trafficking organization killed the mother of Iron 3. It was to threaten Tai San. Then kill this victim. What is it all for again? Looking at the time of the incident. Even in large amounts of high-purity heroin, before being discovered, there is no intention to kill or rob. Thinking of this, Su Ming suddenly froze. I have already thought of it. A particularly terrifying possibility. Immediately walk to the whiteboard, pick up the pen and write down. In these volumes of the Gusu clan, recorded time point, in May 4 years ago, the Seoju police discovered there are small quantities of high-purity drugs circulating in the market. In July 4 years ago, a private cinema belonging to the Gusu family, a love confession led to a fake murder case. The murderer has still not been found. 4 years ago, in August, the drug market in Gusu, a large quantity of high-purity drugs began to appear. The police are on a wooden boat. Discovered a full 500 grams of heroin. In January 3 years ago, a henchman of the drug dealer organization, the Seoju police, who had been monitoring for several days, made an arrest. 3 years ago, in March, Tai San is targeted by a drug trafficking organization. Her mother was poisoned with sweet nothings. The first transaction involved 10 kilograms of drugs. Write down the dates of these cases, using sweet words as a special means of killing. Su Ming can boldly conclude. The killer of the private cinema murder case, most likely a member of this drug trafficking organization. So the question arises, the victim who died in the private cinema, just a simple computer programmer with straightforward interpersonal relationships. A very pure otaku. Why was I targeted by members of the drug trafficking organization? Moreover, 1 month after this case occurred, the number of high-purity drugs in Gusu City. It immediately surged several times over. Does this mean that a member of a drug trafficking organization from Gusu City, the internal assessment has been passed or gained trust? In this situation, the so-called assessment and trust, isn't it very likely that this moment Su Ming showed not the slightest hesitation, immediately used this high privilege account. Searching for cities that have seized high-purity heroin. First is Jinling City. 2 years ago, high-purity heroin appeared, and 8 months later, number of searches conducted, and the weight began to increase. Flip forward to Czech. There is a story called The Boy in Red, the special case of the Lijiang suicide incident. The case still hasn't been closed, because it can never be determined. It's a murder, still suicide. Then is the same distance to Mingju City. A year ago, a highly pure drug appeared. In just 2 months, within the drug market, a large amount of high-purity heroin emerged, and with high-purity drugs, almost simultaneously appeared a cold case known as the Villa chainsaw murder case. The killer was not found at the moment. Linen City is famous for its beautiful scenery of West Lake. 2 years ago, high-purity drugs have also emerged. But in less than 3 short months, all high-purity drugs on the market, everything bizarrely vanished without a trace. Carefully review the case files from the past 3 months. Su Ming has already discovered there is a case known as the West Lake drowning and corpse dumping case. The case is currently closed, 1 hour before the killer was found. He committed suicide by jumping off the building, although the murderer has been identified. But this case, it took nearly 10 days. Just solved it through a subtle clue. But it's not just that. Half an hour later, Su Ming let out a tired sigh, leaning back in the chair, staring at the ceiling. The eyes were filled with seriousness and coldness. There was an indescribable weight of seriousness and anger that by examining the criminal files of numerous cities, he has already confirmed one thing: members of this large drug trafficking organization to gain the recognition of other members and obtain more quotas for high-purity drugs. We must commit a perfect crime together. Of course, it's not about true perfection, but at least for a certain period of time, a murder that cannot be discovered by the police. This time, it's about a month. If within a month, not discovered and captured by the police, then the drug quota will be increased. As time goes by without the police making any arrests, the higher the quota they obtain. And it's a motive for murder. Apart from that, the most terrifying thing is those who failed to hide their identity after committing the crime. Members of the drug trafficking organization caught by the police. Without exception, they all committed suicide. There was nothing left behind. Any opportunity to continue probing further. It is no exaggeration to say the current members of this drug trafficking organization, everyone has their own success. The case of the escaped murder is upon us. The criminal intelligence of the entire drug trafficking organization, terrifying to the point of being unimaginable. This moment, just as Su Ming felt a bit solemn, feeling the terrifying extremity of this massive drug trafficking organization, Zhu Changshan pushed open the door to the conference room. He waved at Su Ming. "Xiao Ming, let's go to the technical department together. They have already helped us find several candidates, possible criminal suspects. The most problematic of all is Wenbao. In recent years, Wenbao's close relatives have passed away due to illness. Only one son remains studying in the United States. Moreover, do you know, He is not just the principal. These past few months, he also served as the counselor at Shu High School. The news brought by Zhu Chengsheng. Suddenly, Su Ming felt a sense of indescribable surprise. Part-time psychologist. The only son is studying abroad in the United States. You need to know. Opioids can be unregulated in the United States, in a state of severe abuse. Almost everyone has illnesses at home. It will be, are you assisting in a crime? However, due to the serious and responsible consideration of the case, Su Ming did not make any immediate judgments, but hurriedly walked out of the meeting room, walking towards the Criminal Investigation Technology Department. Zhu Changshen was narrating the current discoveries. Currently, we are screening the numerous staff members of Shu Middle School. 3 suspects that generally match have been identified. Because there are other school staff members. Most have not interacted with Huang Yan and Zhang Wan. So, this screening is to understand the situation of both individuals, and ample opportunities and time to conduct preliminary investigations. These 3 people are Principal of Shu Middle School, Quan Bao, Vice Principal, Ke Han, and their former homeroom teacher, Liu Yan. In the screening of the technical department, the level of suspicion regarding Quan Bao to be far superior to the other 2. Speaking of which, the 2 of them also arrived at the Criminal Investigation Technology Department. Zhu Changsheng gestured with his hand. It is it, Dish. Beard, don't look at the surveillance yet. You just screened the 3 suspects we identified. Have a good talk with Xiao Ming. And Zhu Changsheng looked to the side. 2 veteran police officers who have worked together for many years. He spoke quite seriously. Lao Chen, and the work of the technical department here. You 2 can take a break for now. These past few days, Chu Anming went to keep an eye on the dog owner's wife and daughter. By the way, observe if there are any individuals acting unusually. Staying nearby. I'm worried. As the case deepens, we began investigating Quan Bao, the members of that drug trafficking organization. It will also start moving. Then at that time, the family and daughter of the dog. It is definitely one of their targets. We must be prepared. After receiving this command, Lao Chen and Aki nodded to each other. He left the technical department without hesitation. Go stake out near the dog's address. Possible suspects. At the same time, Wang, who had a look of excitement on his face, opened the organized clues related to Quan Bao. Spoke up. Mingji, we just accessed the identity database, medical records, school official website, personal party member information, etc. Channels for obtaining information from various aspects. The current screenings have revealed the 3 criminal suspects, the possibility of Zhang Heng and Liu Yan, much lower than Quan Bao, because from any angle you look at it, Quan Bao is more in line with your and Sheng Ji's deductions. Currently, at least 80% are compliant. 80% compliant. This probability made Su Ming raise an eyebrow. There was an indescribable surprise in my heart. After all, in the experience of numerous criminal investigation cases, if a certain criminal suspect appears, can be inferred results. There is an 80% match. Then it can basically be confirmed. This suspect is the criminal. This is because the various characteristics and clues inferred by the police, precise no matter what, may differ from the actual situation. So, the situation of the true murderer compared to the inference results. A slight unevenness is also normal. It can meet about 70 to 80% of the requirements. That is already extremely high. They could boldly grasp the details of the interrogation case. Su Ming furrowed his brow, nodded slightly as a line. Beard, what places are marked on the map? It is not much different from our inference. Without the slightest hesitation, Wang Hu clicked to turn to the next page. Show a faded, colorful old photograph. This is a high school graduation photo. Slightly recognize. Can discover the musical talents of students. Standing right in the middle of the back row, taking a photo with peace signs, and the background behind it. It is at the entrance of their high school. Above, several large characters are hanging brightly. Shengtian Senior High School. This graduation photo. I took it from Wenbiao's party file. Wang Hu pointed at the photo on the screen. Continue the story. About 35 years ago, it was the most prosperous time for Shengshan village. Wenbiao's parents work at that textile factory. At the same time, Wenbiao was there too, having spent my student days. Therefore, he must be very familiar with Shengshan village. I grew up here since childhood. Next are the photos from the second series. Wang Hu continued to click on the laptop. A series of various activity photos. And the interview photos were edited together. In this long image, all the main characters are Wenbei, but he was always wearing a thin mask, without exposing the nose and mouth. At the same time, all the people in these photos, everyone is wearing long-sleeved shirts. The temperature is clearly not very high. Seeing this face, Su Ming frowned. He spoke slowly. Allergic rhinitis. Wenbei should have allergic rhinitis. And it's a very serious kind. Otherwise, will not be present at these events and interviews. Everyone is wearing this type of pollen filtering mask. After all, wearing a mask, better than halfway through the interview. Can't stop sneezing. Reveal your true self to be good friends. Moreover, judging from the way this clothing is worn, it's mostly in spring. It is indeed the peak time for pollen dispersal. Mingjie, it really has to be you. Wang, who sighed skillfully, opened the next image of medical insurance expenses. Continue to. This is Wenbiao's medical insurance expenditure. A few days ago, I went to Hue High District People's Hospital. The doctor prescribed him Palmy, Chiritin, and other anti-resistance dark drugs, according to the effects of the medication. Can judge. It is to alleviate the symptoms of pollen allergy. So, perhaps it's precisely because of this. Mingjie, when you and Shengji went to school, he wasn't wearing a mask. Of course, it could also be that he was too anxious, forgot to put on the mask. Immediately after that, Wang, who flipped to the last photo, pointed at the campus internal notice board. There is also this appointment and dismissal list. 2 months ago, the counselor at Shud Middle School was dismissed by Wenbei. The reason given is good at leaving posts. I usually don't work in the counseling room during weekdays. The student can't find him anywhere. Then, 3 days after the dismissal, Wenbei suddenly decided, taking on the role of a psychological counseling teacher myself. Once the right candidate is found, replace yourself again. But in reality, I checked various sources. Wenbei simply doesn't have it. Certification for the counseling room, the only possible thing learned. Content related to psychology. It might be, during his college years, due to being a normal university student, I've learned a little bit, more or less. But it's been so long. You should have forgotten by now. Although here, a little problem. Based on the many resources available currently, I suspect Wenbei. It is indeed the biggest. After listening to Wang Hu's words, Su Ming's brows were deeply furrowed. There was an indescribable confusion in my heart. "Are you saying the killer, Jen Chiquen Bio, but why one can use blue gold game, this extremely covert method of consciousness control? Those who come to commit crimes will keep calling and asking out of fear. Moreover, still give this experience to Lin Tian. Incredibly abundant old heart, such making a phone call. Aren't you worried about your identity being exposed? The most important thing is, from the recent events I've just reviewed, analyzing the case of drug trafficking organization members. This massive drug trafficking organization, regarding the selection of personnel, very strict. It shouldn't be Quenbao. Such a person has such poor mental resilience. Moreover, Quenbao, who has no background in psychology, Su Ming does not believe that, can dominate this blue-gold game. Not right. It can't possibly be this simple. Although Quenbao's various information, everyone can follow the profile of the murderer deduced by Su Ming, correspond roughly to each other. But it just happens to be on personal character. A huge problem has arisen. The cautious and sharp-witted killer. How could it happen time and again? Paul Lin Tian. This is not. Increase the chances of exposing yourself, unless said Quenbao wanted to play a counter-logic, clearing one's name in this way. Nah, Quenbao. Isn't that a bit too much to say? Because criminal investigators are meticulous in their work. It is solid evidence, rather than the straightforward logic of games like Werewolf. Logic is just to identify the suspect, cannot be used as evidence to identify a suspect. So, is it possible that the mastermind behind it all? I have a deep understanding of Wenbao's personal information, so the clues left by the design all are based on the Wenbao template. It is specifically meant to let the police shift the focus to Wenbao to escape the pursuit. Moreover, this method of framing and blaming others, very much in line with the persona and characteristics of the behind-the-scenes murderer. Caution, fierce, cunning, just as Su Ming was pondering endlessly in his mind. Outside the corridor of the technology department, heavy and steady footsteps echoed. 3 seconds later, Lin Tian has already appeared at the door of the technology department. After seeing Su Ming and Zhu Chengsheng together, then took a shortcut. So you are here. I just went to the case conference room. I didn't see the two of you. I was just thinking I probably came here. How is it? What is the current situation? I just reported this matter to the review committee. The higher-ups take it very seriously. The discussion has already begun. How to find out this massive drug trafficking organization. So our team's current mission is to solve this falling case as soon as possible. Bring the mastermind behind the scenes to justice. Follow the clues as much as possible. To the drug trafficking organization, this statement instantly let all the officers in the technical department, everyone grew increasingly tense and serious. Because Lin Tian was able to come here and say this, sufficient to prove the importance and impact of this case. At this moment, because of Lin Tian's words, the technical department fell silent. Zhu Chengsheng wiped his chin, thinking for 2 seconds. He immediately took Wang Hu's mouse. Break the silence. Master, we are currently extremely suspicious. The principal of this Shu middle school. This is the mastermind behind the fall case, based on the profile of the killer analyzed by Zhao Ming. Quenbao, at least 80% similar, even in different places. There is also a certain degree of tolerance for error, the possibility of becoming the perfect suspect. Speaking of which, Zhu Chengsheng looked at Su Ming beside him, asked with considerable importance, By the way, Xiao Ming, I just heard Wang Hejai's description. What do you think? Is there a citation for the text? Possibly the murderer. It's obvious, based on the deductions from the previous cases. Zhu Qingsheng had long been a firm believer. Suming's reasoning ability. Otherwise, it won't be in such a situation. He also specifically asked about Suming's thoughts and judgments. Lai's thoughts drifted away. Suming looked around. Lin Tian and Zhu Qingsheng answered quite seriously and earnestly. Never. Chendi, although Wenbiao perfectly fits the identity of the perfect suspect. But based on the analysis of his character, I believe the real mastermind is very likely not him. Or it could be that someone is deliberately framing him. Because of the method of committing the crime, the killer was extremely cautious. This is about Wenbiao repeatedly calling the neighbor. The contrast is just too great. Moreover, I previously analyzed and browsed recent cases in surrounding provinces and cities. We have obtained crucial leads on the drug trafficking organization. Through the clues obtained, I think it's very likely to get a literary title. You're not worthy of joining this drug trafficking organization. Correct? Is unworthy. Not worthy of joining. Lin Tian asked in surprise. He gestured casually. Continue speaking. Xiao Ming, take what you found from the file. Give us a brief overview. Su Ming slightly lowered his head. The right hand only spoke as the left hand was gently tapped. First, by determining the discovery time of high-purity heroin in various provinces and cities, and the time when the weight increases, I accidentally discovered, in the first couple of months before any weight gain, there is definitely a murder case that the local police failed to solve. At the same time, several provinces and cities have also reported the presence of high-purity heroin, but they were caught all at once in a short period. It never appeared again. Through case file analysis, I discovered that there was a murder case before this. The investigation is extremely difficult. It took at least 4 to 5 days to solve it. From this point on, I can boldly conclude all suspects invited to join the drug trafficking organization. We must create a perfect crime that cannot be solved. Only then can one gain recognition. Increase the number of drugs under your control. Or say, the leader of this drug trafficking organization, to control subordinates in this way, leaving them no way out, and prevent our police undercover from joining the organization. At the same time, this also caused members of this drug trafficking organization absolutely loyal enough. The criminal intelligence is extremely high, able to escape unscathed after committing a murder, sufficient to prove the vigilance and counter-surveillance skills of this group of people. How terrifying can it really be? And this may also be. So many years have passed. We are only just realizing now the reason for this drug trafficking organization. As the voice fell silent, the entire technical department fell silent once again. Everyone's eyes trembled, full of shock, just because the inference that Su Ming just made. It is truly terrifying. An entire organization, all of them once successfully escaped pursuit. The desperate fugitives of a tragic case. Lin Tian's expression was also somewhat touched, but immediately adjusted, smiled to ease the atmosphere. It seems, if we compare this drug trafficking organization to a conversation at a dinner party, the invitation only allows for venue visits. If you want to sit down and eat, you must prepare enough cash gifts. It's just a blood pact for escaping murder. He let out a deep breath. Lin Xin patted Su Ming's shoulder. In calm eyes, it seems a storm is gathering. Pangbin Road. First, bring Wenbiao to the police station. although he's most likely not the murderer. But from his perspective, it might just lead us to the killer. Meanwhile, while controlling the summons of Quenbeao, in the old town of Hue High District, in an old residential community named Happiness Home, a person with a weary face. Air is a mess. A despondent homebody still holding on to a Shiba Inu, walking the dog, nibbling on the multigrain pancake in hand, but his gaze occasionally darted around. When he walked his Shiba Inu to the main entrance of the community, I glanced at the ramen shop outside the community. Jang appears to be slurping up the noodles, a middle-aged man who has hardly eaten anything, and walking towards us, pushing the cart up, a certain delivery guy with a huge pile of packages. He yawned. She quietly moved closer to the young man. He sniffed forcefully. I discovered there was no disgusting body odor. Instead, there are doubts about the plastic smell from the ancient clothing that was just unwrapped. After slightly narrowing his eyes, the disheartened Ataku gently tugged on the dog leash in his hand, urged with a sense of caution. Left. Sayo Chai, it's time to go home. This Shiba Inu seems very understanding. She swayed her hips and walked towards the most secluded building in the neighborhood. When the disheartened Ataku returned home, after closing the main door and locking it securely, originally tired eyes immediately became sharp and serious. Casually tossed the dog leash aside. I dug out a phone from the shoe cabinet. Insert the previously cracked, disposable phone card, dialing that number I already know by heart. After the disheartened Ataku silently counts to 15 in his heart, the phone was answered promptly on the other end, without the slightest hesitation. There was no doubt about the identity of the person across from me. The disheartened Ataku was the first to speak. I just saw 2 police dogs, smelling the future pet dog of my wife and daughter in the neighborhood. The beast dog is probably all in. Most likely, everything related to doctors and organizations. I told everything to the police. What a spineless person. Something that can make one disregard their wife and children. How should we handle this now? Should I go find a doctor now? Let him think about how to betray us. Before he could finish speaking, the mysterious person known as K interrupted him casually. They even heard the crisp clinking of wine glasses. You don't need to come. Oizen, find a chance to return to your soju. The doctor's evaluation failed. I will have the sculpture frame take care of this matter. After all, the Magic City is his territory, although he is a complete madman, but dealing with a failed waste. It should be fine. After all, the case he worked on. It's been hanging there for almost 20 years, right? After determining the next breakthrough point for the news indicator, the Hue High investigation team acted very quickly. The police car speeds down the highway. The journey originally took 20 minutes, shortened forcefully by Zhu Chengsheng, almost half the time. Arriving at the gate of Shude Middle School, Su Ming pushed open the passenger door and got out, seeing the interview vans from various major media outlets around. It actually increased quite a bit compared to this morning. But the vehicles of the Hue High District Education Bureau, currently, I have already left first. I suppose you have guessed it too. This case is not as simple as it seems. Therefore, no time was wasted waiting for results. After all, prepare for the worst. Return to the Education Bureau for a meeting soon. Let's discuss a solution. Perhaps it will be more valuable. Because of this case, under the exaggerated propaganda of those unscrupulous media, it has already made quite an impact online. When Su Ming and Zhu Changsheng both walking into the campus in a police uniform, unexpected discovery, in a vacant area not far from the school gate. wearing a protective mask, Wenbao, surrounded by a large group of media reporters. Some are holding microphones. Some were holding up their phones. Some were holding recording pens, etc., deliberately guiding and questioning Wenbao. Principal Zhu, I heard this is a case of intentional murder. Has it been proven? The loopholes and mistakes in the militarized management of Shude Middle School over the years. Principal Zhu, currently, the family of the deceased has not come forward. This is your school's choice to spend a lot of money. Have you reconciled with the deceased's family? Principal Zhu, may I ask about the student who fell from the building this time? Do you have ideas for changing the school's philosophy? Performance comes first. Transform into a comprehensive development of quality education. Principal Zhu, could you please take off your mask? Principal Zhu, from this suggestive interview, it is clear that the people blocking the way and pressing for information, most are not official formal media. They are mostly what are called second-rate newspapers, and various internet celebrities who ride the trend, attempting to obtain first-hand information and the process to gain traffic and create buzz. But there's no way. Zhang Wan's fall from the building has been discovered. Several hours have already passed. If there is still no response, who knows what kind of nonsense these people will come up with once these people begin the process of compiling, widely recognized by many netizens and the public. Even later, the police presented a complete case report. It seems that it is of no use at all. In other words, the vast majority of netizens, they only want to hear the results they wish to hear, instead of the so-called truth. Zhu Chengsheng took a glance. Surrounded by the media, Wenbao couldn't help but let out a mocking laugh. If I hadn't done some research beforehand, you might really think that Wenbao is a good principal. To preserve the school's reputation, I can only face this group of unscrupulous media in such a compromised way. But with the relevant information, I think accepting interviews from unscrupulous media now is unwise. It all seemed to cover up the previous panic, the matter of repeatedly calling the neighbor's phone. At this moment, Su Ming and Zhu Chengsheng, we have approached the crowd that formed a circle. Wenbao's voice was slightly hoarse. At one moment, it was clear to hear. Dear reporters and media representatives, I have told everyone countless times. The cause of the fall is still under investigation. I can't provide any answers or thoughts to everyone. As for whether to adjust the school rules or atmosphere, and even management models, please wait until the truth of this tragedy is uncovered before speaking. If you still don't believe it, I can perform Hue Hai Live, the phone number of the neighborhood chief of the criminal investigation team. Let him speak about the progress of the case himself. Compared to me, the neighbor's answer. You must also. Before Wenxiao could finish speaking, standing at the back of the encirclement, Zhu Chengsheng, who went completely unnoticed, interrupted quite directly. Principal Zhu, no need to call the neighbor anymore. The case is currently at a critical stage. The neighbor is unavailable to answer your call, so we came specifically to pick you up. A visit to the criminal investigation team. Together, let's sort out the subsequent cases. Find out the real reason for the fall. This sudden voice rang out. The media surrounding the news team. They turned their heads to look back. I saw someone in a police uniform, Zhu Chengsheng, with a cold expression. They unconsciously squeezed closer together, made way for a path, and half holding the phone. It seems that when Bea was about to call Lin Tian, it paused even longer. Then he quickly looked at Zhu Chengsheng and Su Ming. Strange expression. Answered somewhat reluctantly. Did the neighbor ask me to go to the criminal investigation team? Good. Then I'll take care of things here. Let's go check the latest developments in the case. When Zhu Chengsheng made his intentions clear, Su Ming's gaze remained fixed on Quen Biao's face, carefully observing his micro-expressions, even though wearing a mask on the face, but Su Ming from the gaze of Quen Biao, and in the tone and pace of its response. I can already see some tension and panic. It's obvious. Even if Quen Biao is not the perpetrator of this fall case, that is definitely related to the case. The first time I came to Shud Middle School, when Biao accompanied the leaders of the Education Bureau throughout the entire process, arranged for Vice Principal Zhang Hengpei and Su Ming to investigate the case. Kai Rang hid until now. Otherwise, it is estimated that in the very beginning, just a few simple questions, it's very likely that he will be exposed. Because, from the current situation, the psychological qualities of Quen Biao, it really is terrible. Zhu Chengsheng's simple 2 sentences. It was already tense to the point of being unable to hold back. To avoid wasting too much time, Zhu Chengsheng walked through the narrow path cleared by unscrupulous reporters. Standing next to Quen Biao, he said coldly, without any expression, "Let's all disperse. It won't be long. Our police will announce the specific investigation results. During this time, please don't interfere with our investigation. I think everyone present here shouldn't want to interfere with official duties. Go to the Hue High Criminal Investigation Team to have tea. All privacy has been stripped bare by us." As soon as these words were spoken, there's no need to say anything more. Those surrounding nearby, unethical fake reporters holding various recording devices, without a word, they went their separate ways. After glancing a few times, the tacit understanding dispersed. I don't even dare to say another word. After all, in the hearts of most Longuo people, the criminal police are seen as. It definitely belongs to the kind of profession that should not be provoked. Once these unscrupulous fake reporters dispersed, Zhu Chengsheng spoke quite affectionately, hugging Quen Biao's shoulder, with a gentle smile on his face. Just like Lin Tian's special mission, he came to invite us to go. In fact, it is to control the inquiry index as much as possible. Avoid any other accidents. Just like that, the two appeared incredibly close as they approached the police car, after Deng Quen Biao sat in the back seat. Zhu Chengsheng's smile instantly faded. He opened the car door solemnly and got into the driver's seat, casually tossed the handcuffs into the empty seat in the back row, looked up at the rear view mirror in the car. Gazing at the report, Quen Biao said coldly, Principal, you are a vocational scholar. Moreover, they are party members. I don't want to take coercive measures. So, put the handcuffs on yourself. Just now, in front of the media. I've already given you enough face. I hope you are now. Don't make it hard for me either. Quen Biao was momentarily taken aback. I saw the handcuffs next to the seat again. Opened his mouth. It seems like you want to say something. But still, don't wait for him to make a move. Zhu Chengsheng kept his hand on the steering wheel, directly turned to the side, eyes glancing, staring coldly at the news headline. Moved my lips towards the handcuffs. Silence for a few seconds. Quen Biao lowered his head gloomily, picked up the silver handcuffs next to the seat. With a click sound, cuffed it to his own wrist. His dull gray eyes stared blankly out at the scenery beyond the window. 15 minutes later, the police car has already taken the warning sign, returned to the Hue High Criminal Investigation Team, although holding a higher social status. But Quen Biao was also informed immediately, arranged into the interrogation room. There are no privileges or special treatment at all, because when this special campus fall case occurred, it is not only related to minors. It also implicated another, when the large drug trafficking organization. The importance of this case. It has already surpassed everyone's imagination. A strict order came down from above, no matter who it ultimately involves. They are investigating ruthlessly. We must completely dig out the rotten roots. At this moment, Su Ming is sitting in the case conference room, looking up at the ceiling. Squinting his eyes, he felt an indescribable confusion just now while capturing the news banner. Except for the beginning, you can see. He showed obvious signs of panic and fear. Arrived later, it seems there is nothing left but acceptance and silence. Even when Zhu Chengsheng handed him the handcuffs. Not even the thought of fighting for a loan. Why is this happening? Judging by the crime method of consciousness control. Quen Biao, who is somewhat timid and cowardly. Such a case should not be possible. Moreover, in all personal resumes and reports, there has never been a mention of Quen Biao, record of studying psychology. In that case, it is even less likely to become the mastermind behind the blue gold game case. Drug trafficking organizations would certainly look down on such people, not the killer. Then take the highest probability of the news indicator. It is related to the case, or being coerced by someone through certain means. Come help the mastermind behind this case carry it out. Because in this situation, Quen Biao was completely unaware. All the clues inferred so far. They were all specially created by the mastermind behind the scenes. The possibility of pointing to a news marker. It is almost gone. After all, if it truly is a setup by someone, no matter how weak the news is, will remain silent like this. As for being coerced, even if Quen Biao was caught by the killer with evidence, then help to conceal as much as possible. Isn't it better to just do it quickly? Why were you in the police car earlier? As I was just taken to the interrogation room. Still silent and not saying a word. This is like a beast dog, worried after explaining everything. Family members and relatives were taken by someone. Did the organization cause the death? That can't be possible. When I previously checked the personal information of Quen Biao, Su Ming had indeed been paying particular attention. His family archive. What can be confirmed now is 3 years ago, Qiu Wenbiao's wife passed away due to illness, and his only son, sent abroad for further studies. As for his parents, once an employee of the Shengtian textile factory, after the factory was reformed and shut down, Qiu Wenbiao's parents worked outside for a few more years. As I got older, I also didn't choose to live with Quen Biao, but returned to Shengtian village again. 5 years ago, these two elderly people have passed away. So logically speaking, Quen Biao fundamentally has no family. There's a possibility of being coerced, but he maintained a strange silence. From the moment the handcuffs were put on until the time we entered the interrogation room, not even a single word of defense was spoken. What is this about? Waiting for the lawyer. Still giving up on myself. Or perhaps Quen Biao is preparing to replace someone. Take on this case. That's why I kept silent. Thinking of this, Su Ming suddenly grasped a clue. Quickly took out the phone from his pocket. Dial Wan Hu's phone number. As the two sounds of waiting fade away, the phone has been answered. He didn't even wait for Wang Hu to ask anything. Su Ming spoke first without any doubt. Beard, please check the major bank cards of Quen Biao. During the past 6 months, are there any large multiple transfer transaction records? If possible, Please help me check as much as possible. Does he have a bank card abroad? If we find something, text me immediately. At this point, Su Ming saw Zhu Changshen already pushing the door open. He pointed directly towards the interrogation room. Standing beside me, Lin Tian has basically stopped handling front line cases. It's obvious. This is Zhu Changshen reporting the situation to Lin Tian. The interrogation of Wen Biao is about to begin, and Lin Tian, who is incredibly experienced, they also need to participate in this interrogation. Not only because of Wen Biao's identity. We must do our best to uncover all clues, further investigate that massive drug trafficking organization. All right. Just like that, the mustache. Without the slightest hesitation, Su Ming hung up the phone after speaking, immediately took the notebook and a series of materials, quickly walked over to Zhu Changsheng and Lin Tian's side. It seems like it's been a long time since I interrogated with Lin Tian. Zhu Changsheng appeared somewhat excited. Master, I never expected that you would come to interrogate me too. But it also allows Zhao Ming to take a look. The strength of our Huey High Brigade's ace veteran detective. Don't talk nonsense here. Lin Tian looked at Yuan Zhu Changsheng with a hint of disdain, then continued to say, later, it will still be up to you. Interrogation will be conducted by you. I will take on the role of observer and supplementary interrogator. To be honest, this case is really huge. It's so big that I don't dare to relax even a little, afraid to miss anything that might be related to that drug trafficking organization. Arriving at the interrogation room, there are already other officers. Someone with keen insight had already moved a chair inside. When Su Ming set down the notebook and other items, as I reached the corner, I turned on the camera. Lin Tian let out a sigh, shook his head, looking at Wen Biao, who has already taken off his mask, said in a soft voice, Principal, you are also an intellectual. Special position. Is even a few years older than me. Has a rich life experience. In the current situation, even if you haven't seen it or experienced it firsthand, I believe many people have mentioned it before. So, don't harbor any delusions of luck. I suppose everything that needs to be explained has been explained. I will do my best to give an opportunity, give you a chance for a lighter sentence. All right, let's begin. After saying this, Su Ming became aware. On the chair, Zhu Changsheng was the first to ask. Let's skip the personal information. Principal Zhu, information about the deceased in this school's full incident. You should have a general understanding now, right? Wen Biao lowered his head. Seems extremely tired. Responded weakly. No. Zhu Chengsheng nodded, fingers lightly tapping on the table. Continue the story. Since Principal already knows, let's not beat around the bush. Let's get straight to the point. Why 2 months ago? You resign. Before Zhu Changsheng could finish speaking, Wen Biao was just like, I didn't hear the previous question. Continued to self-question, muttering to oneself while looking down. I know the specific information about classmate Zhang Wan. She knew that her parents had long been divorced, living with grandma, resulting in his introverted personality, not good at socializing. 1 month ago, her grandmother passed away. What did she ultimately rely on? Became the best candidate for psychological control. I know. Officer Zhu, you must be wondering about me. How to understand psychological control. Because, speaking of which, Wen Biao slowly raised his head, exuding tranquility too, eyes without a trace of ripples, said without any hint of emotion. Because he is the one I killed. He is the one I killed. He is the one I killed. Quen Biao showed no emotional fluctuations. It feels like the appointed class is speaking the most ordinary words. The three people in the interrogation room, they all frowned in unison. Because, even if it means giving up his humble abode, Wan Hu, come to interrogate Quen Biao, it should all be easy. I can see that he is lying, but Quen Biao could say exactly at psychological control and Zhang Wan's recent situation. These are supposed to be the principles of the school, things that will never be known. After all, a school, there are so many students. There are also many complicated matters. The principal doesn't have that much time. Both follow, a close relative of a certain student. The matter of passing away. So, it is now very clear. You can determine. First, person. It definitely wasn't Quen Biao who did the killing. At least, this timid and cowardly personality, absolutely not. That kind of can design blue gold game crimes, meticulous killer, but he definitely knows. Many details in the case. There is even a possibility of direct involvement. Secondly, Quen Biao did not intend to turn in accomplices in the case. It is obviously already planning to be alone. This case, I managed to hold on because of his middle school principles. Geazi identity, it is destined not to be that kind. Even after killing someone, they still feel. Is there a law that nothing happens? So, if Quen Biao, I was truly coerced, or it might exist, being used situations, Lai Yingji would immediately say, case process, hopeful, to achieve merit and seek a fair judgment, instead of like it is now. It is as if my heart is as dead as ashes. Spoke desolately. Such talk suggests that a person was murdered. Even, not even the simplest rebuttal, not even concealing it. This is undoubtedly about to. This is a way to take the blame. And also, still that kind, no matter what it is used for. Come to threaten, or be influenced. Absolutely not. The real murderer, the kind that is provided, the attitude of taking the blame. This was not long ago. The beast dog that has completely seduced. Completely different. At this moment, talk about yourself. It is the murderer, Quen Biao. Once again, he lowered his head in silence again. Su Qingsheng, furrowing his brows, right hand index finger, knocking on the table, sternly and coldly said, Principal Zhu, I think you should realize the severity of this case. This is indeed a case, juvenile homicide case, rather than simple petty theft. This is not something you want to shoulder. Things that can be carried. The real culprit, not really, just by yourself, can hide away. Currently, we have a lot of clues. Principal Zhu, even if you are so uncooperative, the final killer, our police are destined, will also be found. Are you sure you want to do it for an outcome that cannot be changed at all? Give up the opportunity for a lighter sentence? Principal Zhu, the specific process of the case. Have you explained everything? This is the most correct choice. It sounded quite official after saying that. After the persuasion words, Quen Biao, there is still no change. Silently lowering his head, not even willing to answer any more. This completely uncooperative attitude, Zhu Chengsheng felt in his heart some unspoken impatience and anger. If it were an interrogation in the past, an era where demands weren't so strict, even if Quen Biao's identity, he is the principal of the middle school, party members, everyone has to eat a set meal. Great memory restoration technique. seeing Zhu Qingsheng, has clearly become somewhat annoyed with Quen Biao's attitude at that moment. Lin Tian, sitting beside, gently patted his shoulder, spoke with a seriousness akin to the stabilizing needle of the sea. Principal Zhu, to be honest, we were before. I have also had the fortune to meet them a few times. So today I saw you are in front of me in this state. Actually, in the heart, it feels quite uncomfortable, since you are also in the interrogation room. For a long time in the future, it seems there is no freedom left. I'll be straightforward with you. This incident happened to you all. The incident of the fall from Shude Middle School. Not just simple. It's just a student who fell from the building. Currently, based on the clues we have uncovered, it has already been with a long-standing presence. It involves a vast drug trafficking organization in our country. The person you are protecting now. This is it. One of the members of the drug trafficking organization. As a member of the party, Principal Zhu, you can't possibly not know. Our stance on drugs always maintains a true zero-tolerance attitude. Speaking of this, Lin Tian's tone softened a bit. Like old friends reminiscing, Ban Wensheng said, Principal Zhu, go ahead and tell the whole story. I am now. Then you can agree. Not just give you one. Opportunity for leniency and punishment, also to the true murderer. A confession, and the chance for a lighter punishment. What is hidden will definitely be revealed. Surrender and confession are what truly matter. Correct ways to reduce a sentence. At that time, if you can still involve that drug trafficking organization, related personnel and the main location informs us, contributing while bearing the blame. Maybe it won't take a few years. Then it can come out. It's obvious. Truly experienced. Old Detective Lin Tian, very clear, with Quen Biao's recent attitude. If you want to take a tough approach. From his mouth, Pride opened information about the process and details of this case. That is almost impossible, only by adopting a gentle attitude, and must surrender for a reduced sentence. This is in the case. The only valuable promise. Only then is it possible for Quen Biao relaxed his grip, state the specific case details. Just like now, after hearing that there is still a possibility of earning merit while serving a sentence, Quen Biao slowly lifted his head. In the depths of the eyes, flickering with a hint of attack, but it seems unaware, remembered something. Just 3 seconds. The attack in Quen Biao's plan. It has dissipated again. With a dim gaze, lowering his head again, a hoarse voice calmly said, I am the murderer, because Jiang Wan's grades were too poor. Continue to stay at school. It will definitely lower this year's admission rate and average score. But the graduation exam is approaching. Plus, at Jiang Wan's home, such an incident occurred. Even if I make her drop out of school, she definitely wouldn't want that either. So I came up with a solution, using the blue-gold game to carry out consciousness control crimes. To accomplish this task, I even specifically resigned. Originally, the psychological counseling at school. Before Quen Biao could finish speaking, Su Ming directly interrupted his words. He sighed, shook his head with a hint of helplessness. Hello, Principal. Why did you fall apart by yourself? Jiang Wan's grandmother. He passed away just a month ago. This is like 2 months ago. Just dismiss that campus counselor. What does it matter? In my opinion, it should be the mastermind behind the scenes. To accomplish that, assessment of the drug trafficking organization, especially for you to find. It's suitable for the right target. It took a whole month to find it. No suitable candidates were found. So you remembered. Last year I limped due to a cart accident. There are no more lies about continuing school, right? The lies did not heed you. As the assessment grew increasingly urgent, just then the more fragile Jiang Wan appeared. In this situation, not done speaking yet. Beep, beep, beep. Su Ming's phone placed on the table. Suddenly remembered. Notification sound for new message. Without a moment's hesitation, Su Ming hurriedly opened the message. I saw the latest clue sent by Wang Hu. The gaze suddenly became sharp. Immediately after that, looking at Quen Biao, who was keeping his head down and silent, gently brushing with fingers, spoke rather blandly. Principal, I think these things, everything can be set aside for now. Could you please tell me first, about 3 months ago, in less than 3 days, you go through various banks and other channels, made a whopping 8 million in an overseas account, even the second week after the transfer. Let the agent help you list your house at a price 15% lower than the market rate. The buyer completed the property transaction with cash payment in full. The total house payment is 6 million. Just got it in my hands, still warm. You are about to get the full 6 million. Transfer to that overseas account, but in less than an hour. Then the 6 million was earned back again, returned to your card. The amount of the transfer combined in digits exceeded 13 million. And exactly 2 months ago the transfer stopped. Principal, can you tell me about it? The owner of that offshore account. What is your relationship with me? Su Ming's words. Ling Dai Tu Chen Mo de Quen Bio suddenly lifted his head. The eyes trembled slightly. It seems difficult to remain calm. After a long moment, he opened his mouth. Kaishea struggled to hold on, her voice trembling. I don't know what you are talking about. What transfer? I never transferred money to anyone, except that I am the murderer in this case. I don't know anything else at all. It can be seen that, even as someone from the last century, a very small group of university students, but has a cowardly personality, the not-so-clever Quen Biao, when facing this situation, but he is just like the other criminals. I can only stubbornly insist that I don't know, maintaining a meaningless pretense. But this case is extremely serious. Isn't it, Quen Biao? Simply put a few words. I don't know. You can temporarily set it aside. Lin Tian, sitting beside, hearing Su Ming's recent words, doesn't hug Quen Biao at all. The expectation of being able to respond, turned to ask, Xiao Ming, are your sources of information accurate? During this time, is Quen Biao involved in a large transfer? Su Ming nodded. Hand the phone on the desk to Lin Tian. He answered affirmatively. Yes. Lin Ju, before just arriving at the interrogation room. I can roughly deduce that. Principal is likely to have a bicycle, the plan to take on the blame. So, I believe the mastermind behind it all, very likely long ago, in contact with Principal Heek, even the relationship. It should also be completely familiar. There is no possibility of coercion. So, by analyzing the vast majority of people, reasons and purposes for participating in drug trafficking, although enjoyment is not excluded, stimulating this pathological mindset. But I think money, still one of the most likely reasons. Then, as the principal of a private school, principal, even if not a shareholder of the school, economic strength, it definitely won't be bad at all, since principal's relationship with the mastermind behind the scenes. Unusual. It might even be possible. help him handle this murder case. I then made my judgment. Before joining the drug trafficking group, they will definitely contact you first. Zai principle. Seeking help, there's really no way out. Only then would they take the path of drug trafficking organizations. So directly inquire about the funds. Transfer record. This is validation. This is my best choice for inference. As for the final result, Neighbors Bureau, just like the text message displayed on the phone, there are indeed records of substantial transfers. After listening to Su Ming's reasoning, Lin Tian agreed quite a bit. He nodded in satisfaction, but it wasn't too shocking. As qualifications, the old detective behind me, Lin Tian, believed that, can also make these inferences. Looking at the numerous transfer records on the phone, Huan Shengdao, Shen, principal's relatives. How is the relationship? Have you studied abroad? The child who works. The old detective believes he is sharp enough through Su Ming's earlier words, transaction records in the phone, and the attitude and performance of Wen Biao. Immediately determined